Okay, so we are back faster than Tommy Fury pulls out of fights. One day later, hopefully one day greater for you guys. In today's video, you already know, we're taking a look at Jake Paul versus Hasim Rahman Jr.'s first press conference leading up to their fight on August 6th. I know these things are always fun and we like to be entertained by them, but press conferences as far as the actual fight goes on fight night, they kind of mean all. But it is a good opportunity to see where this tension lies between both of them, what they got to say to each other, and my biggest thing, I want to see the size difference. Heavyweight Hasim Rahman Jr., cruiserweight Jake Paul. What does that look like when I'm assuming they face off? Let's take a look. Paul versus Rahman Jr. kickoff press conference breakdown. Let's go. What the was that?
Welcome to Madison Square Garden. This venue has hosted the greatest boxing matches in the history of the sport. We were just here a couple of months ago.
Listen, all I gotta say is my man Ariel's looking fresh. He's got his picnic table suit on with the double nipple buttons that don't connect to anything. They're just there to be there. That's a nice Windsor knot. Mine was better at Creator Clash, I'm just saying. But he's looking fresh.
You've got the return of one of the greatest pound for pound, regardless of gender, the one and only, the pride of the pride of New York. Amanda Serrano returning as well.
Oh my God, it is getting way too hot up in here. Way too fucking hot. Oh, Amanda, those belts in front of you yet? You know what I'm saying? They're shining, but you wore those glasses because you shining even brighter. You understand? Yee!
How do you feel about the fact that it seems as though Jake has chosen your son as his next opponent, that perhaps, as I saw in an interview with your son in Fight Hype recently, that he feels as though Jake is looking past him or thinks that he's the easy matchup for him?
I mean, that's asinine. For anybody to say that Hasim is an easy matchup for Jake is crazy to me.
I just think that he's moving too quick. I think he picked the wrong guy at the wrong time.
Moving too quick for your slow-ass son who's not going to be able to hit me. Yeah, you're right. I am moving too quick. Fast as shit.
See, there he go Ric Flair with the WWE stuff again.
Nah, Ric Flair's promo skills were legendary. Jake's not terrible, but nah, he's not Ric Flair with that. If anything, I could give Jake Ric Flop, but not Ric Flair.
When we get in the ring, then we get in the ring. So.
You're not in the ring, sir. Your son's in the ring. And that's what he doesn't understand either. He thinks he's you. He thinks he's you. And that's his biggest mistake. He's not you. And August 6th, people are going to see that. I'm ending that whole-ass legacy that your whole-ass family got. It's over with.
So Jake just said he's going to end the legacy of the entire Rahman family's ass, I think. Not sure what that means, but I'm sure they'll sort that out in private. But Jake does have somewhat of a decent point there that boxing families that have legendary names, the younger generations tend to lean into that legacy from the older generation, even if they're not necessarily that level of fighter yet. Rahman Jr. should be proud of his family lineage. He should be wanting to walk in his father's footsteps, just like Tommy wants to do with Tyson. But Jake's saying, hey, listen, you're not your dad, and I'm going to show on August 6th why you're not. This is how Jake plays his mind games. Frame Rahman Jr. as the son riding the coattails of his father, and Jake's going to try to continue to remind him of that.
This is such a huge opportunity, and they said, look, this is take it or leave it. Either you take it or you leave it or there ain't no fight. And I took it. I'm going to be the lowest paid opponent, but I'm the biggest. I'm the biggest. I'm the one that's giving you any credibility. None of your other opponents gave you any credibility. So why shouldn't I get more than him?
I get where Rahman Jr. is coming from right here. He does add the most legitimacy to Jake Paul's name, but that's unfortunately not the way this game goes. Like, if all Jake was after was legitimacy, if that was it, then he would be fighting through the ranks of cruiserweight. But Jake is in this sport to be a pay-per-view draw. Guys like Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, even Nate Robinson, because they were on the Mike Tyson card. Those names helped build a pay-per-view and build interest because more people knew who they were. Name value is going to come first. It always has and probably always will.
Jake, I've heard them say now a couple times, sparring isn't fighting. That sparring match that you guys had about 2 years ago isn't exactly what's to come, and that you're perhaps putting a little too much stock into that. What's your response?
I don't do this sport to spar. I do this shit to fight. And when he gets under the lights, Madison
Square Garden,
fought nobody. In front of 20,000 people.
You ain't fought nobody. Everybody you fought have been their debut.
Who have you fought? Tyron Woodley, UFC champion.
20 and
Ben
0.
Askren.
What are you talking about?
Nate Robinson.
Champions in MMA.
Dude said Tyron Woodley, champion. Ben Askren, champion. Nate Robinson, NBA.
Don't turn your back and run like you did when we sparred. Don't do that. And I will be using both hands.
You'll
Trust
see.
me.
You'll see.
And I will be using both hands.
You'll see. I got something for you.
I only use one hand when I sparred him.
I gotta be honest, at this point, I need to see this footage too, because god dang, we are making such a big deal out of something that happened 2 years ago.
What is it about your son that you think gives Jake Paul the confidence that he seems to have to take on your son on August 6th?
Flat out, I'm gonna give you the honest answer. I don't know if my son gonna like it, but I'm just gonna tell the truth because that's what I do.
Okay.
My son has really underperformed and underprepared for pretty much all of his fights.
Damn.
Dad, why'd you say that at the press conference, Dad?
What are you talking about? He just told you gonna tell the truth. This ain't nothing he ain't said to me before. What are you talking about?
It's bring your kid to work day.
I actually don't like what Hasim Rahman Jr. just said there, that this isn't something he hasn't told him before. If Rahman Sr. is continually telling Jr. that he's underperforming, that he needs to take this more serious, that he's not as invested as he needs to be, as much as this fight on paper should be Hasim Rahman Jr.'s fight to win, you have to take Jake seriously, or else he's going to surprise you.
Does your training camp, does your preparation differ at all now?
No, nothing changes. We know he's going to come out southpaw, so, fighting a southpaw for the first time.
Yep.
But other than that, nothing really changes.
That is interesting. Jake fighting a southpaw for the first time. How is that going to look? Because Hasim Rahman Jr., we talked about it in my last video, does switch stances. How does Jake adjust in fight to the things that Rahman Jr. can do, different styles he will bring?
So when we
We'll
sparred,
see
why I couldn't turn southpaw when we sparred? Why your corner and your trainers and you were so adamant about
You turned southpaw in that
I did
too.
not.
We had the footage.
I did not. Go show it. Show me some.
We
Show me
had the
turning
footage.
southpaw. Show me
We
turning
had the
southpaw,
footage.
please. Show the footage of you turning around. As soon as you get the back
You got your ass beat and you know it.
How? You ain't here jumping on top of turnbuckles. There's no winner or loser in sparring.
Right there is the difference between the two of them. Jake says you got your ass beat in sparring. Hasim Rahman Jr. says there is no winner and loser. That is the complete antithesis of what I'm talking about. The polar opposite of the mindsets of these two dudes. Jake looks at his spars like actual fights. He doesn't have the experience as an amateur like Rahman Jr. or any professional boxer has, so his experience was built during these spars. So he doesn't look at him as, oh, I'm just here to get better. Guys are going to give me a look. He looks at it every time he goes into that ring. To him, it's a fight, and he intends on winning every single one of those. And again, I don't hate the competitive mindset of it, but on the other side of that, Rahman Jr. is like, yo, they brought me in to help you out. I wasn't giving my 100%. His team apparently told Rahman, don't turn southpaw, don't use some of the stuff you have in your arsenal, because the guy they were fighting at the time, Nate Robinson, wasn't that good. So of course they wouldn't have Rahman Jr. styling on Jake and trying to come in there and obliterate him. That's understandable. Reality is there's probably a little bit here from both sides. Jake probably had a lot more success than Rahman Jr. thought he would at that stage. Rahman Jr. wasn't given 100% and was there to help Jake out. So no, that's not going to reflect what this fight will actually look like.
Who runs in a boxing ring? You
Why
ran
were
like
you
we was
so
in a
mad
track.
after?
He's a runner. He's a track star. What's going on?
Hey, Hasim Rahman Jr. is cooking. Oh my God.
KeithIdickBoxingScene.com. My question's for Hasim Jr. Hasim, how much do you expect it to be a challenge to fight at the lowest weight of your career? And how much weight will you have to lose in training camp before the fight to get down to 200 pounds?
This is a great question because I've seen online the talks about Hasim Rahman Jr.'s weight and possibly some clauses in the contract. Let's see how he answers this, but I got some thoughts on it.
We already close, man. We already close. I'm not worried about the weight.
This guy's bigger than me. He has more experience. There's no reason that I should win this.
Don't
And
forget
will
you got to
win.
stack that.
And that's what I'm proving
You
to
try to
people.
bring me down to
That's what I'm proving to the next
cruiserweight and then
generation.
put a rehydration clause in the contract.
people-
If
what
you
weight-
was really that, you would have
what
fought
weight
me at
class?
heavyweight. You put a 10-pound rehydration clause in the contract? Stop playing. Bruh, shut your ass up.
Shit's going crazy. I gotta be honest here. I'm gonna push back just a little bit against Hasim Rahman. Here's the thing. Rahman Jr. didn't have to take this fight, but when you sign the dotted line and say, I am coming to cruiserweight, then you agree to make the weight. You can't tell Jake, if you was really that, we would have done it at heavyweight, because Jake isn't a heavyweight. He fights at cruiser. Even if it is a take it or leave it deal, when you agree to do something at a specific weight, you can't claim a stacked deck because that's what you agreed to. Now, about this rehydration clause, I have kind of two thoughts on it. One, if Hasim Rahman Jr. can make the weight at the allotted time, I don't know how fair it is that he's not allowed to then go back to whatever he is most comfortable rehydrating up to. But I understand on the other side of it why Jake and his team are doing that. Jake is going to be 195 to 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit. He will be that. So to allow a guy to then come down, make the weight, and then shoot back up to 220 pounds, it's not something you want if you're in Jake's team because it gives him 25 to 30 pounds weight advantage, which is massive. So I don't really know who's in the right and wrong there. Jake and his team proposed it, Rahman signed it. You can't really complain about having to do it if you signed your name to do it.
All right, question for Jake. In the first Tyron Woodley fight, we had a bet with the tattoo, I love, for the winner. And then if Tommy Fury would have showed up, you would have had a bet, $1 million with Tyson Fury.
Oh, we got the bets going.
Can we get a bet on the line for this upcoming fight?
Jake don't honor his bets. I'm not betting this, man. I don't even gamble.
You want to bet 500K. You posted on your Instagram.
I did not say I wanted to bet.
You did. You posted on your Instagram.
Read.
When I beat you,
I don't bet
when
money.
I beat you, you have to change your Instagram name to I let my dad down.
Oh, God. Not this stuff. Not the Instagram handles again, dude. The bets, they don't really get me interested in a fight. Like, oh, here's 500K, let's bet. Well, because Jake has the money to do so and knows that most of these guys don't. So again, it's already a slanted bet to begin with, but then we go with like let's change each other's Instagram handles. I just don't give a fuck about any of that.
Yeah, right. I don't got time to be playing with you, bruh. We not playing on.
You got all the time in the world. What were you doing before this, bro? You're a broke bitch doing nothing.
Training.
The last fight
Jake,
you ever
scam people, bro. What are you talking about?
Ooh, let's hear this.
If I was scamming people, I wouldn't be broke.
Stupid.
Oh, we hit a nerve.
Begging me for more money.
I didn't ask you for nothing. I didn't ask you for more money. I never asked for more money. I'm the highest level opponent you face, but I'm getting the lowest amount out of anybody you ever
No one knows who the fuck you were. 2 days ago, you had 5,000 Instagram followers.
Why you bought my followers? Why you bought me followers?
I knew it. I fucking knew it. Rahman Jr.'s kind of in his bag here. Listen, it's kind of getting skipped over, but he calls Jake a scammer. I think we all know by now, shout out to CoffeeZilla, the things that Jake and some of the people in his team do as far as their NFT involvement and the pump and dump scams that have been linked to him. And then he confirms what we already thought. Jake and his team apparently bought followers on Instagram for Rahman Jr. And we knew it. We fucking called it. There was no way he went from 5,000 to 200,000+ followers in one day. It made no sense, and it's just confirmed there. They bought him. They bought him followers.
He don't want to make the bet.
Jake,
he's all tough.
Jake,
look at them big old arms. Look at him. He's so big and strong. He's going to knock me out. I haven't fought nobody, but he won't make the fucking bet.
And this is why I've said that guys shouldn't be taking bets from Jake Paul, or they should reframe bets and come back with something else, because when you don't, it frustrates him. Because he wants that little nugget in his head and in yours to say, I got you to do something you didn't want to do. And now there's added stakes and there's more pressure on the boxer, on the guy that's bigger than me, on all the things he's saying. But because Rahman Jr. was like, I'm not doing this bet, that's stupid. Jake then turns and starts leading an impassioned sermon to the media here.
I'm going to fuck you up on August 6th. And that's the bottom line. Point blank, period.
All right, we'll leave
no
it at
menstrual
that.
The quotables in this fucking press conference, man. Jesus. So they got Logan standing in between here. And obviously you can see the size difference, height difference already. He's actually a better size comparison in a matchup size-wise for Rahman Jr. And this is where you really see the big size difference, right? And it's not just in the height, the broader shoulders here from Rahman Jr. Like, he is a heavyweight, and he is a lot bigger than Jake is. No doubt about it. Like, good Lord. Look at these fucking arms. He almost hit Jake with his elbow, low-key. Like, look how close that elbow got to hitting Jake. And he goes from just standing beside him to stepping in front of him. Like, yeah, I'm the big guy in here. I'm stepping in front of you. Do kind of whatever I want on this stage. You ain't gonna stop me. That's just a little bit of something there. A little bit. All right, so there it is. That was an eye-opening press conference from both guys. Like, Rahman Jr. came talking his shit today, called Jake a scammer, said he bought him Instagram followers, made good points about the infamous sparring video because, like I said, he was there to give Jake a look, didn't necessarily get to show Jake all his skills because that's not what he was there to do. And Jake came back with the father-son dynamic, which, again, I think if you're Jake, it's smart to go after because, yes, Hasim Rahman Jr. has a ton of pride in his family name, but he's right. He's not his dad, at least not right now. He's not the heavyweight champ. And Jake saying that last name, plus the fact that Jake picked him to be in the fight is the only reason Rahman Jr.'s there, That's stuff that Jake's going to continue harping on. But all in all, the biggest thing I take away from this presser is the face-off. How big Rahman Jr. is, the broadness of his shoulders, his actual height and size. And Jake has never seen that. And really, size-wise, Jake has either been the same or bigger than everyone he's fought. And in my opinion, Jake's going to have to deal with this fight strategy change from Tommy Fury to a bigger guy, more experience, that's going to try to bully you. But all in all, like I always say, these press conferences, they mean almost nothing when it comes down to fight night. Really, the preparation in camp and on the night of the fight, who can make adjustments, who wants it more? The question remains, who will that be? Don't have those answers, but August 6th in Madison Square Garden, guess we'll find out.